really like that, Dave. You know, from trophy bass to Lake Fork at Toledo Bend to redfish and speckled trout along the coast, the action is nonstop.
That's right, Rick. Crappie are stacked on timber, stripers are running strong, and the bite is wide open. The Texas Insider Fishing Report starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Bree Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy. And if you've been waiting for the right time to hit the water in Texas, this is it. The weather's finally leveling out across most of the state, and the fish are fired up, and we're matching.
I don't know. You know, Bree's been working for us now. This is 11 years. And it's amazing how we never talk, but this happens more often than not.
We're synced up.
We're syncing.
We're synced. All right, before we see what region we're headed to first, let's give a big hello to our Parts View workbench guru, Dave Farrell. Dave didn't get the camo memo, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm more fashionable, I guess.
You are. You are. Well, you're all the way over there, so it's hard to sync up with the camo over here.
That's correct.
All right, anyway, talk about fashion. Let's start the weekend off in the Star-Tron Middle Fresh region with Matt Loescher on Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, Granbury, and Whitney. Hello, Matt.
What's happening, dude?
Hey, guys. Excited to talk about a lot of fish movement this week. We've got all kinds of stuff happening here in the Middle Fresh region, and it's all good. So we're going to start out with the largemouth bass on Toledo Bend. Water level has risen some more this week. You know, we've been on this water level roller coaster up and down, up and down. This week it's an up. It's up to 171.7 now, which is almost full. 172 is full. The dam operators have backed off on the generation a little bit, which is why we have been on that rise this week. But they are still generating some water. There's just more coming in than what's going out. So there is still some current, which is helping those fish set up. The temperature is holding around 70 degrees, and quality fish are holding from the bank all the way out to about 15 feet right now. They're pretty widespread. The shad are spawning heavily now lake-wide, so look for that bite at first light in the morning. And then overall, the bite has been better early, which is usually the case with that shad spawn. So you're going to want to get out there early. Look for thick concentrations of shad in about 10 to 15 foot of water. That's going to give away their location, especially later in the day once the sun comes up. Find where they're really stacked up near the mouth of the spawning areas on points and flats in that 10 to 15 foot area. And then just look for the bassiest looking, most obvious spots near that, points and hard spots. Carolina rigs have been the most effective throughout the day with shad baits on them. And then Texas rig, redbug worms have been second. And always have that Berkeley Jaywalker in a white color ready, because if you see those fish busting, you got to have it ready to throw. They are coming up periodically throughout the day and in the morning, of course. All right, now going over to Sam Rayburn. The water temperature there is holding around 70 degrees, and the level is about 4 inches above pool. It is dropping, but with it still being that high, there's some fish holding around shallow cover. The shad spawn is pretty heavy there this week too, so look for that at dawn. Find those large concentrations of shad either visually on the surface or on your sonar. It's usually best to remain near the main lake, near the mouth of those spawning areas, because that's where the most shad are going to be. Your white spinner baits are good on the cloudier and windy days, and then a swim jig in white as well, good around that flooded cover. Near the shoreline, you can throw it anywhere, and it's really good on the sunnier days. White topwater baits are working for that bite as well. Now, most of that fish on that pattern are going to be the smaller ones, but you're going to have some bigger ones mixed in there too. So it's a fun bite. Now, if you're in it for more of an offshore bite, you're going to want to look out in 5 to 15 foot of water on the flats and the points. Carolina rigs and Texas rigs are best for that one. That's where a lot of your bigger fish are going to be, but you're going to have some small ones out there too. The fish are just all kind of mixed together right now. In a few more weeks, we'll begin to see those fish kind of segregate by size, but for now, they're still mixed together. A recent tournament there last weekend took over 60 pounds to win for 2 days, so definitely some big fish still being caught at Rayburn. All right, now we're going over to Granbury. Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service there says the fish are spawning heavily there now. The water level is just a few inches below full, and the temperature is up to 70 there as well. The best bite has been above the 377 bridge. He says look to the backs of the coast for those spawning fish, and the bass attachment fat job is still the dominant bait in your watermelon and your green pumpkin colors. Now moving down to Whitney, Thurman says that the water is clear there and it's slightly above pool level. He says stick with the Bass Assassin fat jobs there as well. You're going to want to throw them weightless for those spawning fish. He says the best areas have been Big Rocky and Little Rocky. He also mentioned that the log jams on the main lake are great for flipping, and that's producing some bigger fish. So if you're in for a big one, look to that. Green pumpkin has been the best color there. And I forgot to call out my photo there. Did you guys already put it up for Toledo Bend?
Yeah,
There we go. There it is.
There you go.
That was a Toledo Bend fish. I missed that one. I apologize.
30 seconds on the crappie. We'll probably have to drop striper, bub. Go ahead.
All right, we're going to talk crappie for a second, touching on Granbury. Crappie are spawning alongside the bass there in the back of the protected spawning coves. Focus on that area above 377. Down on Whitney, crappie spawning there too. They're moved up the river for the spawning action. Look for the warm protected areas to find them up the river. Here on Toledo Bend, they've been continuing to bite really well, but they're out in 10 to 20 foot of water here post-spawn, moving out near the mouths of the spawning coves. Look for them on that timber in 10 to 20 foot and cast jigs to them. I'm going to leave you with a photo there of my fellow guide, Michael Shanley, with a group of clients there and a table full of big slabs.
Great job with this photos. Thank you so much, bub. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. Bye, buddy. We'll see you later. Appreciate your hard work. All right, let me grab my report. So he says, if you're fishing in Toledo Bend or Sam Rayburn, look for the fish to be primarily in post-spawn phase, eating shad that are now spawning. And then further west, Whitney and Granbury, the fish are spawning and in the bedding phase. Toledo Bend is red hot for crappies on the timber in 10 to 20 foot. And then stripers are being caught on Whitney and Granbury in 13 to 15 feet of water.
All right, next up, we're in the land of the biggins in the Heroes on the Water, Lower Fresh region with Matt Reed. Show us some big bass and big smiles, Matt.
All right, Bray, let's kick this thing off. I got way too many lakes on my list this week. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Fayette County. It's been really consistent this past week. Post-spawn fish are feeding hard just outside the shallow grass. Swim jigs, swim baits, and slobber knockers around the grass edges has been the best way to catch fish. Some of them that have moved on out, the Carolina rig stick baits and shaky heads at 15 to 18 foot on the points are the way to catch them later in the day. Lake Somerville is doing well. There's a sporadic shad spawn still happening. The largemouth are on that on the shallow rocks and sandy banks with spinner baits and shallow cranks. Greg Boyd has sent me a report Brian Cotter, has sent me a report from several lakes around the Austin area. Lake Travis is producing a lot of fish right now. Some of the fish are still spawning on the main lake, and in the smaller cuts, you want to throw Texas rig soft plastics to look for those. But tons of the fish have pulled out on the flats on the mid to lower end of the lake around the grass. Use your soft plastics and moving baits like swim baits and shallow crankbaits or the stun or jerk bait for those fish on those flats. Catching tons of fish from 2 to 6 pounds with an occasional bigger one mixed in. Lake Austin's fishing good. Most are done spawning. A few upriver from that cooling water coming out from under the dam. Big swim baits are your best bet to catch a big one. Concentrate on docks and deeper hydrilla to catch those big ones. LBJ, Inks, and Marble Falls are all fishing similar. Look for grass patches and work them over with worms, and creature baits. Shallow crankbaits and frogs on the bulkheads and rock piles will get you your bigger bite. Hey, Georgetown is fishing well. Still a few spawners mid-lake and up the river. Again, that's Texas rig. But there's some deeper bass out deeper on the structure. Throw shaky heads on this lake. It works wonders on those offshore humps. Also a few flipping on the laydowns of 3 to 5 foot. Lake Falcon, those fish, my babies are already in early summer pattern. We caught a little bit of water this week from release from Amistad. Throw a Berkeley Dime 10 crankbait and blueback chartreuse. It's an awesome deal right now. Shaky heads with the general and the football jigs have been kicking out some giants. Like Amistad, about the same. Most of them are done spawning, so the small percentage are still spawning, but most have moved out. Texas rigs in 8 to 20 feet have been most effective. Got 3 bass pictures. That first one I just have to laugh at. Got Jeff and Grant with both ends of the spectrum at Falcon. You got the big Falcon special and a future special.
Wow.
Greg Boyd's got a fish from Fayette County. Mike Hahn with another Falcon special in that third picture.
Nice. All right, tell us what about the alligator gar.
Got a quick report from Ram Reyes, Falcon Lake. Garfish has been good on the north and south end areas like the Tigers. Fresh cut carp is best for rod and reel fishermen. Bow fishing has been excellent out on the main lake, and in the creeks like the Baleño and Tigers. Tons of big gar in that lake, and they are amazing creatures. Ram's got a picture of one they took on a recent trip.
Wow. Dude, I want to come film that for Sportsman's Adventures. You and I got to go do that. All right.
Those are awesome fish.
All right, man. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at your hot spots. He says Lake Amistad, the bass fishing has been good. There are a small percentage of the bass that are still spawning. Most bass are in the post spawn. Texas rig, 10-inch Berkeley power worms, and 8 to 20 feet of water has been the most effective.
Got that gar fever over here. All right, the lower coast region is in the spotlight. Coming up next, there he is. But first, Dave Farrell is in the spotlight at the Parts View workbench for rigs and techniques. Dave,
I love being in the spotlight.
You really do.
But Rick's actually going to be in the spotlight today because he's going to be telling us how to catch redfish in deep water.
Oh,
because they're not always on the flats.
You can do it too, Dave. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio. Blue light blocking, radically clear polarized fishing sunglasses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. Prosec Smoked Meats. Fuel your day the Texas way. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, Dave, we're here at the Parts View Rigs and Techniques workbench. And Dave, fishing deep water for redfish in Texas is something that a lot of people do.
Yes.
Standing on a jetty. Maybe you're fishing, somewhere near the jetty. Like when Paige and I went to Port Arthur a couple years ago, we were fishing in 4 to 6 feet of water, and they were eating menhaden everywhere.
Yeah, they always hang around in those inlets during certain times of the year, and they'll also be found in channels and stuff like that in that deep water. When I was a kid, we called redfish channel bass. I didn't even know it was a redfish until I got older. So, you're going to want some heavier gear when you're out there, like this nice. We got Abu Garcia's got a brand new Revo Premier low profile reel. That thing has up to 20 pounds of drag.
Right.
That little tiny reel. So
made for salt water.
Yeah, and that'll really get them up. It's got really smooth 10 stainless steel ball bearings. It's got an 8.1 to retrieve. Gets 35 inches of line per turn. So it's really good for fishing in that deep water when you want to move your bait around. It's also got an IUCB6 braking system, which allows you to throw really heavy stuff,
right?
Which is important when you're trying to fish deep. It's made for throwing heavy big stuff, which a lot of them. The XD Concept design also allows for that same kind of thing.
And it's loaded on the Fenwick Elite, extra heavy.
Yep, 36, 30-ton graphite blend there. It's got the tailored foregrip and that really short foregrip so you can put your finger up on the rod blank itself and feel the bite. It's got titanium guides so it's never going to rust. Zirconian inserts and a really nice Fenwick designed reel seat that feels like it's custom made for your hand. Just really nice stuff.
So Dave, now we established what we're going to be using. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about our terminal equipment. So, Eagle Claw created Jupiter rigs is what they're called. Mm-hmm. And essentially what that is it's a variety of different size weights between two swivels, then tied onto a circle hook or a live bait hook, depending on what your choice is.
Right.
But the point is, what works for this is around those jetties, there's so much current. Mm-hmm. So you're able to throw up towards the rocks, but not get hung in the rocks because this is going to be where your bait is.
Right.
And this is going to be what your anchor is. And this round anchor is going to roll on the bottom so that it doesn't get hung up. And when it does, you just lift it and the hook is usually not in the rock.
Correct. That's the good thing about that Jupiter rig. It's made, it was invented in Jupiter Inlet. And so, when you've got heavy tidal flow, it really keeps your bait closer to the bottom. You can actually make it a little longer if you want, the hook end. But it usually keeps your bait closer to the bottom, and that's where those redfish are. They don't have that underslung mouth for nothing. You know, they're usually hugging the bottom, and especially in a strong current, most fish will hug the bottom anyway because the current flows over the top of them, and they don't have to work to stay there.
That's right.
You know, once they get up in the water column, then they can get blown out.
Now, the way we fish a lot of those jetties is you got to understand it's around 25 feet deep where it starts to get from the bottom of the jetty out onto the underwater landmass.
Right.
So you're going to throw heavy jig heads. You got a Pro Elite, you got the Eagle Claw Boxer jig head. These are 3/4 up to 1 ounce. You can put whatever your favorite soft plastic, the Bass Assassin, Artemis Shad, a Die Dapper. You may want to put on your Gulp the new Turbo Shad or
Shrimp.
Or the Turbo Shrimp, that's correct. And it comes in a variety of different colors. And the Nemesis Prawn, which is a curly tail version, that's also a really good one. And if you find those fish that are mudding up where the landmass and the jetty start, a lot of times they're in 4 to 6 feet of water, then you could throw a slobber knocker with whatever trailer you want. But my favorite way to fish those jetties is the trolling motor down the jetty with the crankbait behind using the crankbait, using my rod like this, and we're pulling it, using the trolling motor to make our forward speed. And when it hits a rock and deflects, it ends up, getting the bite every single time.
That's a secret that most people don't know about, is that nice big lipped plug.
The Berkeley Dredger.
Yeah, the redfish love to eat those things.
As soon as it bounces off a rock, Bree, boom.
And it ain't no secret anymore, that's for sure.
Good job over here, Dave.
All right, be on the lookout for some great trout and black drum fishing inshore and getting prepped for some offshore trolling in the Lower Coast region with Captain Chad Kinney. Tell us more, Chad.
Tell you what, we've had some crazy weather here down here. We had some high winds and even some more rain. Talked about it a few weeks ago. We've got another 10, 12 inches of rain, so it's going to be great for the bay system and offshore. It's just going to deter things a little bit and change things up. So I'm going to tell you where to go with the issues we just had. So with these higher winds, right now, I'd head to the land cut. Two reasons. So you can have better water clarity, but you can definitely be protected from the winds we got, the spring winds, which is normal this time of year, and definitely a lot better water clarity. But there's both a lot of good trout up there in black drum. We don't talk to them about a bunch, but they're up there also along the grass beds and the drop-offs along the ICW. So talking about the trout fishing, up in the land cut there, they're in good numbers, right along the ICW, right on those grass beds. You can see those grass beds that go from sand right on the beach to right down the grass beds, and it drops off right from there. So early in the morning, you can throw some Berkeley topwater jaywalkers, works really good early. And I've been switching over to the Berkeley Gulps later in the morning. The key thing here is definitely have a trolling motor. The Rodan trolling motor works really, really great just to keep you off the edge of the ICW and be able to move up and down and work those grass beds. You can kind of parallel all along way down there. You can also, if you get some oil guts there, you can power pole down right on the oil guts when they come into the the left or right, and right on the corner there in the oil guts, and it's fish the gulps right along the opposite side, cast the opposite corner, bounce off the grass beds, work the channel, let it drop down, and slow thump it, and they're going to be off those drop-offs. It's been really productive, and there's been some, especially when the wind's been going like this, that's definitely where I would hit. If you're coming from Corpus, Port Mansfield, or anything else, that's where to go to right now. So talking about some black drum, so we don't talk about them a whole bunch and maybe a few times a year, but they do fight really good. They're a lot of fun to catch, and they are good eating when you catch a pup size, not the oversized one. So they've also been in the land cut, same areas, and then the guts and the drop-offs. The best way right here is get an Eagle Claw, like a 1 to 2 out hook. Get some fresh dead shrimp or frozen shrimp on a Carolina rig, a Penn spinning rod combo, in that 2,500 to 3,000 in size works great for these fish. You can also use some Berkeley Gulps and bounce them off the bottom. That Nemesis prawn, I've been using that thing, and I'm completely wiped out. When y'all see this on the market, it's great bait. But they hit it well on those gulps, and we've been using those on an 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce jig head. So I took my daughter out there fishing along the ICW there, and we got a picture of not a big black drum by any means, but a really good eating size, 17, 18 inch. We had a blast and caught that on that Berkeley Gulp and that Nemesis prawn.
Yeah.
So moving over, it's a lot of fun. So, and moving over to the offshore, conditions haven't been favorable. That's going to change later in the season. But right now the water temps starting to rise, so the plagies are moving in. We just got to wait for a little weather break to get out there and have some fun. So now's the time to get kind of ready for everything in the Lower Coast for trolling. There's going to be some wahoo, dorado, billfish showing up, and conditions are really good. So targeting a dorado, look for floating debris on some rips and currents and weed lines, of course, and then use some 30-wide Penn International combos. I like that best, spooled up with some 30-pound Berkeley mono, works really good. You can catch any size on that, up to the really big ones, be good like that. You can throw 7 to 8.5 knots on that along the weed lines, current changes. You can throw some cedar plugs out there, squid chains, some greenback ballyhoo works really good if you're using some fresh bait, put them out there. Also look for bait balls on your bottom machine or bait on top, especially some flying fish. You start seeing some flying fish busting all over the surface, especially around structure. Definitely work that area. So while you're in the same area, for the dorado, kind of switch gears and go for some billfish. So you can change the size of your baits. You can put a full spread out, 5 to 7 lines, and then switch over to some Penn 30 to 50 wide internationals. Maybe put all 50s out even, but 30 to 50s would be good right now. Would do the trick on it. Pull some chuggers on your flat lines, and then some of the mid-range on your riggers and your shotgun. Pull those baits at 7.5 to 8 knots, and keep definitely a good watch on your baits. If you got one up on the spread, you might be able to have a good idea to have a pitch bait ready. You can tease them in, throw a pitch bait back out there, and let them eat it and take off and have some fun with that. And then do the bait and switch, as we call it on that. But there's going to be some really good stuff coming up. I see a lot of debris out there. Water temps are climbing up, and I expect a lot of good reports here coming in the next few weeks.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower coast region. He says inshore, the trout fishing in black drum are good in the land cut due to the higher winds. And then offshore, the water temperatures are creeping up, which is bringing in the pelagics. Target them in 300 to 1,000 feet of water along the current changes and any weeds you might find.
All right, well, it's time to saddle up and hit the Prospects Middle Coast and Upper Fresh regions when we circle back. But make sure you don't miss a beat when it comes to fishing in Texas. Just scan that QR code on your screen, follow us on social media, scan now, and dive in, and we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Abyss Battery. Power your pursuit. Rodan. Set it, forget it, catch more fish. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Penn. Let the battle begin.
So Bree, we spend a ton of money on boats, and nobody ever considers how important the Ameritrail trailer is. You know what? Trailers are a huge part of the package. Check it out.
Over the years, I've seen time and time again, a person buys a new boat package and then they skimp on the trailer. And in my opinion, getting the boat to the boat ramp is key to starting a successful day on the water. I've used Ameritrail trailers for decades, and I have extreme confidence in the trailer that they manufacture. Here's a recent example of the trailer that they've just built for my 36 Frontrunner. This boat weighs 15,000 pounds, and with the trailer, it weighs 18,000 pounds. I want to share a 40-day example of how we've used the trailer. Our first trip was picking up the boat at the Frontrunner factory in Green Cove Springs. Then we drove it to the water in St. Augustine for a water test. And after a 2.5-hour orientation, it was time to head south 375 miles to its home in Homestead. The next morning, we went to the Florida Keys to film a mahi show for Sportsman's Adventures 2025 season. 11 days later, we hooked up the Ameritrail and headed to Fort Pierce to meet up with Eric Davis to try to catch some nice kingfish. This trip was 334 miles round trip. 6 days later, the girls and the family wanted a family day trip to the Keys, so we traveled an additional 24 miles. 2 days later, Ridge hooked up the Ameritrail and he went west to Tiki Island, Texas, which is south of Galveston, this was 1,235 miles one way. The round trip was 2,470 miles. 2 days after returning, I hooked it up and drove to Venice, Florida, 466 miles round trip. 2 days after that, we returned to the Front Runner factory for some testing of the new 350 Yamahas. So in all, in 40 days, we have towed this 18,000-pound boat and trailer package 4,791 miles. And this was easy because of the triple axle trailer. The boat and the trailer were balanced so well that doing 75 miles an hour down the road with a 3/4-ton diesel pickup is not a problem. Remember, part of your success is getting to the water. So if you have a technical poling skiff, a bay boat, or even a big center console, Ameritrail builds a trailer that will fit all your needs. I bet my life on it every day.
You don't need to say any more. When you trailer something that far and that many days in a row, 40 days we did that amount of miles.
Yep.
It's, you got to have a lot of confidence in it, and I certainly do.
Exactly. All right, between trout in East Bay, reds in Rockport, Back Lakes, and the occasional offshore sortie, the Project's Middle Coast region is looking like a good time this weekend with Captain Bing Grimes.
Yeah, sweet southeast winds have dominated lately, and the trout are in the mood to eat topwaters. On the Pulaski shoreline, the guts are holding trout over sand and grass on soft plastics, and on those north shoreline reefs, it's been good around the Barge and Coon Island. Then the reefs in San Antonio Bay have been good on bass, assassin, sea shad. Topwater bite's been good on that mirror lure, pink she-dog, and also the bone and chartreuse. Same patterns holding along the south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay reefs, and sand and grass pockets are holding trout on the incoming tide on sheep ups. Afternoon's been better on the ardent tides, pushing those glass minnows to the shoreline on that incoming tide. In Rockport, Corkies continue to coax trout on the shorelines around Bud Island, Trailer Island. Incoming tide's been best for around Super Flats, in Port Aransas as well. Looking for snicks coming from that Lydia Ann channel, and then you're casting upwind. It's been really good there. Port O'Connor reefs around Ayers Dugout, Panther have been good on bass, assassin, topwater, sand, and grass pockets are holding good trout on that incoming tide. Trout action in Freeport around Cold Pass and San Luis Pass has been better since water temperatures have stayed in the upper 70s. In fact, all these passes right now are holding daytime temps. It's getting up to 80, and so we're starting to wade wet right now, so that's a good thing. East Matagorda Bay fishing's been good while drifting with gulp shrimp under poppet cork. Afternoon wades have been good on mirror lure, top dogs, and sheep ups. There's a photo there. That's Owen Cossack. He's the son of Kevin Cossack, who guides for me regularly out of the Sunrise Lodge. He caught and released this nice 5-pounder on his first wade fishing trip. It was his first big trout wade fishing. If you remember last year, we had him on the show. He popped a 30-inch trout off the dock in the harbor. Boy loves to fish, and man, he is good at it. Redfish, people love to catch redfish, but staying on the good pattern has been tough lately. All the spring tides and the scattered reds over the flats to push them way back to sloughs and bows. But the higher tides will encourage reds to work the grass line where the shrimp love to hide. Educated cast just a few feet from that grass put us in the game. Matagorda, most boaters are hitting points and structural on the south shoreline with live shrimp. Some days you stop on a point and never have to move. The other days you catch one fish on a point and then move down each shoreline. It's kind of like catching a bus. Put one on, take one off. Shell is holding lots of fish right now on the lower tides of winter. Man, we finally got some water back this week. It's been low tides of all 2025, but we finally got some water. And a few inches of water makes all the difference with these redfish. Little redfish are all over the beaches and jetties. Guys on foot are tossing big chunks of crab and mullet in the first gut on the high tide. Those jetty anglers are working the ocean side on the incoming and the channel side on the outgoing tide. Offshore, Freeport bull redfish all over the beachfront there as well, in about 35 foot of water. Lots of bonnet heads and black tips are eating sardines in the same water. Got Michael Quebeca, he's still on those swordfish, steady about 80 miles out. He's been doing multiple fish regularly when seas allow, and we've got some seas in 1 to 3 feet running this week. That's another great weekend in the Project Smokehouse Middle Coast region. Our fishing is really turning on. Please be good stewards of our bay and beaches. Catch and release is so cool. Please release more than you take. And the next time you're in Project, try one of those Ranger cookies from their Czech bakery. I try to limit myself to about 3 a trip. It's hard. I like to get a dozen, but man, I try to limit myself to 3 because they're so good.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Mirror Lure hotspots from the Pro 6 Middle Coast region. He says inshore, trout are good while waiting with the bass assassins on the sand and grass flats near the passes. Redfish are good at the jetties on fresh menhaden and shrimp. And then if you want to go offshore, swordfish are good offshore 80 to 90 miles out. That's a long ways, baby.
That's a long way. All right, Lake Fork is cranking out trophies on the Berkeley Slobber Knocker, while Levon and Boat Arc are loaded with spawning bass. It is prime time to get on the water in the Upper Fresh region with, hello, Mike McFarland. Oh no, Mike.
We don't have Mike. We got
Mike's
no audio.
not mic'd.
Mike's not mic'd. Let me grab his report.
That's all right. Mike, we don't hear you, but Rick's going to grab your report and
We'll try to call him back and see if we can pick that up. But anyway, what Mike says he want to do, first off, is you want to go, his first one is Lake Ray Hubbard with Joe Shipley. 64 to 67 water degree temperature, fish the shallows and roaming grounds around the reeds, the Texas soft rig plastics and watermelon red and square bills, crankbaits, the slobber knockers, vibrating baits and shad colors, and see some post spawning bass chasing shad. And then Lake, you there, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay,
hey,
go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we were right on about Lake Fork. Honestly, all of our lakes in this Upper Fresh region, the fish are spawning, so you kind of going to get the same report for all the bass. On Fork, the big bass have been really, really good. Its spawn is in full swing, catching a lot of the bigger fish on basically moving baits like the Berkeley Slobber Knocker. But again, those Berkeley Max Scent baits of all kinds, even worms now are starting to catch them on the blue fleck worm. But just creature baits, fish real shallow, are very steady and having great numbers. And here's a really beautiful picture of my client catching the personal best. This is a 9-pound bass on the Berkeley Slobber Knocker. It made his day. He was in the back of the boat, really not expecting to catch anything, and that's what he got for the day. It was really cool.
Cool. All right, tell us about Levon and Carrie Thorne, the crappies.
So crappie, moving to crappie, the full spawn there has finally happened on Levon. You're finding them in 1 to 12 feet of water. 1/16 ounce, 1/8 ounce jigs. You can tip them with live minnows, or the Berkeley Gold minnows work really good too. Fish around the button willows. And Kerry says this, he says, look, sometimes if you're not catching the crappie, it's because you got to hit the base of the button willows. You got to be tight to the cover. Then Jackie Wiggins says the crappie fishing on Fork is really moving towards the post spawn pattern. He's seeing a lot of fish loading up on the brush piles offshore, the ledges, the underwater bridges, the roadbed, any post-spawn trees in 14 to 25 feet. The good thing is these fish are hungry. They're easy to catch. So typically, just about any hand-tied jig that you get in front of them, they're going to bite. So you can save your money. Don't spend it on minnows. Go find these post-spawn fish, hand-tied jigs, catch them all day long. And here's Jackie with a table of them. He's got some cleaning to do right there.
Whoa. Yes, he sure do. All right, what else you got this week?
So we got stripers real quick with Matt Cartwright. Lake Tawakoni's been overpooled, so they're dumping water, and it makes fishing really on a hit and miss. He's finding most of them in the humps and whatnot in 25 to 30 foot of water in the afternoons, catching them on big slab spoons, 1 ounce slab spoons, Alabama rigs, any type of swim bait on an Alabama rig. I know Berkeley makes a lot of little swim baits that you can tie on that Alabama rig, but using that, you can get some big stripers and hybrids. And then here's a big striper and a big hybrid that we got for you. This is really cool. I love the picture with the hybrids on the stick.
Oh, that's a cool photo.
That looks great, bud.
Yeah. And if we got some time for catfish with that little faux pas we had in the beginning, Tawakoni's really starting to get good with catfish. Matt Cartwright said that any one of the wind-blown points in 2 to 6 feet of water with cut shad, because we're seeing shad spawn there. That'll be what we get on next week. Next week, we should have some shad spawn talk for Northeast Texas and the Upper Fresh region. But thanks for having me.
All right, Mike, got a real quick question for you. Chad had some really bad weather down south. I saw hail, 80-mile-an-hour winds just a day or two ago. Did that get you guys up there?
We got so lucky, it literally split and went right around us. My property didn't even get a drop of water. Lake Fork, I think north of us, got about 1 inch. And I did watch some really rough stuff go on around us, but we got lucky. And so we're doing pretty good here.
Hey,
thanks for asking.
I'd rather be lucky than good, wouldn't you, Bree?
Always.
Yeah.
All right, man, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. Mike says the world famous Lake Fork, it continues to hold the hot seat this week, offering anglers some of the very best in big bass fishing. The Berkeley General and the Slobber Knocker are catching trophy fish along almost every day, making fishermen's dreams come true.
Wow.
My dream ain't come true about catching one over 814 yet.
Well, have you been with Matt Reed? What? Come on.
No, I ain't.
Okay.
I tell you what, I might just have to take next year, the whole month of April off and just fish with him every day
See you
till I
later.
catch one.
We'll hold the fort down right here.
All right.
All
That's
right.
up to you.
Oh, getting you on the bite in the Upper Coast region coming right up. But first, Dave Farrell is getting us on the Taco Marine new products at the Parts View Workbench.
My buddy Larry caught a 13 and a 14.
What?
Today.
Larry!
Today, Larry Walker.
Larry!
I hope I have some pictures next week.
Congrats,
All right.
Larry!
Way to go,
We're gonna have-
Larry.
We're going to have some new products here, too. They're not as
Birdie
exciting
stuff.
as a 13 and a 14.
Almost, Dave. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win, Fenwick, Feel Everything, Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome, Heroes on the Water, Paddle, Fish, Heel. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Mirrolure. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Startron, start, run, and store with Startron.
Today's Power Pole tip is certainly about the premium brand products that Power Pole has to offer. Now, over the last 25 years, they have certainly created some really cool products. The Charge comes to mind for me, and certainly it saves me a lot of time each day when I can just simply get home, plug in, and not have to worry about watching and maintaining my batteries between trips. The other thing that I think about is how easy it's made my job and my boating experience on a day-to-day basis when I'm actually using the shallow water anchors that they have to offer as well. Remember this, when you're talking about buying a Power Pole product, you're supporting a Florida-based company right here in Tampa. And the thing that I also appreciate about them is how well their customer service and what they have to offer us. It certainly is the best in the industry, so keep that in mind. So on behalf of Power Pole, we want to thank you for supporting Power Pole over the last 25 years. And we also are looking forward to working with you with new products over the next 25 years. And if you have any questions, you can go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week. Well, it's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine here at the Parts View Workbench. Dave, let's just jump right in.
All right, we're going to start there with the Eagle Claw Monster Flipping Hook, the TK135. You know, if you're chasing those giant fish right now in April, and you're wanting to flip them up, you know, flip something up into the really heavy cover, this is the hook that you want to use. It's just a really heavy duty, heavy tempered wire, handles the biggest bass and the thickest cover. It's got welded eyes, so you'll never have any, you know, slippage of the line in between the line, in between the little eye when you set the hook or just doing anything. It's just it's a heavy hook. It's got a big double barb, a molded keeper on there. It has 5 different sizes from 3/0 all the way up to 7/0. So, you know, you can put some big stuff on it. It's got the Trocar cutting point,
right?
The triple cutting point, instant hook sets and penetration. It gets, you know, even the tough big bass mouth, it'll just go right in. So
I like it.
Go to eagleclaw.com to get you one of those TK135 monster flipping hooks.
Okay, Dave.
Next,
big
we have
swim baits.
Yeah, we got, you know, everybody's using these big swim baits now, and this is the Berkeley Power Bait Nessie. It's a soft glide bait. You know, you can skip it or slide it or, you know, cast it without fear in places where traditional glide baits you wouldn't put in there because of all the treble hooks on them. This has only got one, and it's got that, you know, it's got it infused with that power bait sense, and it's got a meshed reinforced joint right there. It gives it a ton of wide range of action, but it ain't gonna come off either. It's got really nice stabilized fins on the front and the back to make it glide really well. And it's got a patent pending hook retention clip underneath there so that the hook stays up tight to the body, and it won't snag as easily as if it was just hanging out and waving in the wind there. It's got a Fusion 19 treble hook, which is really strong and sticky sharp, and it's custom painted in forage fish colors, a bunch of different colors, a slow sinking bait, and it was designed by Mike Iaconelli. So
He knows a little bit about.
he knows a little
catching
bit about.
bass.
I use, and people look at that and say, oh, that's too big, and I said I use reel shiners that big and way bigger, way bigger than that. So
Way bigger.
Yeah. So next we have the Bahio. These are the Zapatas.
Zapatas.
Yeah, named after that swamp in Cuba. And it's new for 2025. It's got a large fit, full frame. Joins the Tight Lines collection, which is all their fishing focused frames. It's got a straight, wide profile, built-in sunshades, and sun ledges for protection from the sun and the wind. It's got flex hinges so that it fits really nice and
Do they
comfortable.
look too big? They feel like they fit perfect.
They do. They look really good on you, actually. They
What do you
fit
think,
perfect.
Bree?
I think you look like a model.
They got nose
False.
and rubber nose and temple pads, so
Baby,
they
she's
hold tight
sucking
to your
for a
face
raise.
when it's sweating. When you're sweating,
Yep,
And 3 frame colors: brown, grass, and matte black.
All right.
So 7 different lens colors. The block's 100% of the UV light, 95% of blue light, the bad blue light, and 90% of yellow, the bad yellow light.
And that blue light is 22% of the sun's potential glare.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're removing a lot of glare.
Bio-based nylon frame, and so you can go to bahiosunglasses.com to get that.
All right.
Last but not least, we got a really cool product from Mangrove Fishing Products. This is a trolling pro motor stabilizer. We've actually got one over there on the boat as well. It's a universal fitment for Rodan power pole, motor guide, most of Minn Kota. There's no drilling required. You put your shaft in there, your trolling motor shaft, and then you can lock it down and get it adjusted to how you want it.
Right.
And then on the bottom here, it's got 6.
You can adjust the height.
Yeah.
For your gunnel.
Exactly. 6 different height adjustments there. There's no drilling required. It's got this kind of like a rubberized bottom on here, and it's just really, really well thought out. Not only that, you don't have to take it off and on. Once you get it on there and you want to deploy your trolling motor, you push that button and it folds down against the shaft. So
Wow.
it's awesome.
These
It's really awesome.
dudes, you guys were really
Yeah,
man, this must have been a lunch project, baby.
It must have. It's got 30-pound internal shock absorption 316 stainless steel spring. They come in 2 different colors, black and glow in the dark. So
Mangrove Products.
Yeah.
Is that where we go? Mangrove.com?
Mangroveproducts.com. Just products.
All right, Bree, let's keep rolling.
Rick's impressed. When he says the dudes, he's excited about
dudes.
something.
The dudes did
The
good.
dudes. All right, the upper coast region speckled trout are stacked in Texas bays, and redfish action is heating up and at the jetties and the shorelines. Mickey, it sounds like a great weekend to hit the water. What do you think?
Looking pretty good, Bree. Let's start out with Galveston Bay inshore, speckled trout. Let's get rolling with them. The bite's on. Trinity Bay's been really good along the east shoreline for trout in 2 to 3 feet of water. And fish it over shell bottom, points, drains, and guts. We're using shad assassins, little johns, soft dines, and top waters. The bite's really good. Look for slicks and bait fish, streaking water. North shoreline near the spillway, it's good for specks too. When the wind's down, you can catch them on the flats up there in 2 to 3 feet of water. Water temp 76 degrees and trout green. And good specks are starting to show up behind San Luis Pass, and Campbell Bay starting to heat up also. And it's looking real good around Sabine Lake with strong southerly winds, lower channel near Sabine Pass. That's been your best bet here for a while now because of the wind. Shell ledges and shallow flats. Trout are feeding on small glass minnows, shad, so downsize your soft plastics to kind of match that hatch. And shad assassins with glitter and darkbacks are working the best, and water temp is 76 degrees, and clarity, it's fair. It's starting to shape up a little bit. This week's trout photo is David Carroll. And redfish, Galveston jetties north and south, they're still red hot. And bull redfish action is hot on live shrimp, bass assassin paddle tails, and lipless crankbaits. are really doing good in red colors, and they've been your best thing to throw here lately. Tidal flow is critical. Water temp is about 76. Water conditions are good, and redfish action's been fair to good in Moses Lake over shallow shell, throwing gold spoons, paddle tails, and top waters. In Anahuac Pocket and Trinity Bay, it's holding some good numbers of slot and oversized redfish, shallow and deep. Soft plastic drawing the most strikes with that good straight hook on the jig head. Sabine Lake redfishing, it's been fair to good, depending on conditions. Best area has been the lower channel along shell drop-offs with soft plastic and live shrimp. Fish deep along the ledges near the bottom in the east shoreline from Garrison's Ridge to Blue Buck Point. Get in shallow about 1 to 3 feet for slot redfish. Bass assassins and Gulf shrimp are working best around drains and points and tight to the shoreline. And when tides are bulled up, the back lakes over there in marsh ponds, they're good too. Sabine jetties, it's kind of been fair for redfish when winds are down, but conditions are favorable looking ahead. And this week's redfish photo is John Morris in Trinity Bay.
Wow, what a beautiful fish, dude. Tell us about the offshore.
Those are some there, buddy. Beautiful fish.
Beautiful.
And bull redfish, for offshore, that continues to be the hot item around here with these high winds. Offshore fishermen are just not getting out, but they're having great success on tidal exchanges near the jetties and major passes into the bay system. Shad, mullet, crab fish along the bottom, they're your go-to baits for success. And the bull redfish photo is Captain Eddie Tucker. And getting to sharks, man, they're still flowing in. The beachfront's crawling with them, and they're coming through the major passes to, they're following these mullet runs and other bait fish into the bay systems, and they're starting to show up. Wade fishermen are having a little trouble with them right now, but as far as eating their fish off stringers, but sharks continue to move along the beachfront. Most baits are working for them. This week's shark photo is Captain Sharky Marquez with Outcast Charters.
Hey, Mick, I got a question for you. You guys have the great and very popular radio show. Tell everybody where they can find and what time and what days of the week, please.
I do a show Thursday through Sunday, 4 days a week on Sports Radio 610 KILT Houston. And you can stream it live, or I have a podcast. We podcast every show, have for the last 15 years.
All right, man, I just promoted you, so don't forget to promote me. This is how it works, baby.
Hey, I'm in your corner, brother. You know me.
All right.
Yeah, a TIFR guy, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. The Baytown boy spoke the truth. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Coast region. Mickey says wade fishing remains the best pattern with strong southerly winds. West, East, and Trinity Bays are the most consistent. Galveston Jetty remains red hot as well.
Red hot. Well, Dave, I'm so glad you're over here with us because we're about to do Seize the Social, where we show off your big catches, Texas vibes, and all-out fishing fun from across social media. So from the coast to the creeks, here's what we've been reeling in this week. Let's take a look.
All right. What we got?
Seize the Social.
Oh, what's
What?
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well, that shot
No
out.
way.
Whoa!
He's jumped in the water, Rick.
That shot out of his belly like an arrow.
That shot out of her belly.
It was a her.
Yeah.
It was a heart.
I can't see that
And-
far.
Well, now she's going to talk. What's she going to say? Come on. No,
This dude,
she's not talking.
It's
He's
nuts.
swimming, though. Is he on still?
he's still got the fish on.
That's my boy. Dave, would you ever do that?
My
Would you
man,
ever-
look,
no.
he's pumping and winding from in the water.
No, I've actually attached a life jacket to a rod and reel and let one go when we had
Okay.
a doubleheader of blue marlin on it. But I've
Okay,
never jumped in to
crazy.
get one.
Well, that might be a little bit smarter.
Yeah, I'm not jumping in.
Yeah,
For, no.
just smarter, not harder.
I mean,
know
I
what?
float pretty good, as you can see.
And
but
listen, when
I
you
still
get
don't
in
wanna-
trouble and you got a fish on, whether it's around a dock, whether it's in the boat, whatever, open the bail. The line won't break if it's not tight.
I feel
Right.
like she didn't have time to do that. Though.
No, she didn't, but now he's in the water. Open the bail,
Okay.
climb back in the boat, get everything under control, then put the reel back in gear.
Sometimes adrenaline just floods your brain and you just can't think, but that's a good tip. If
Well,
anyone just hears that, they're gonna know what to do in that situation.
Well, I did Marlin University for 15 years, and I only had one guy ever drop a rod out of a mate was handing him the rod with a fish on it, and he grabbed it and poof,
Oh man. All right, well, did you see a fishing reel that made you laugh or want to cast a line? Make sure you share your favorite clips with us, and you could be featured on Seize the Social. Just scan the QR code or drop them in our DMs. Dave, I really enjoyed having you over here for our Seize the Social talk.
I'm glad I
this
wore
week.
pants today.
Everybody sees what you look like from
I
the
need to
bottom
trim
down.
these hooves, though, probably.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
I'm glad that we
and
got that graphic going across them toes.
see you next week. Nobody wants to see the feet, Dave.
I'm going to go on OnlyFans, make some
Bye,
money.
guys.